Hey, and welcome to How to Ambisonics, a video tutorial series by Dirty Deal Audio. I'm Otto Iivari, and in this video I will show you an easy way to set up your Reaper session so you can start working in Ambisonic format. You will learn to position your sounds in a 3D sound field, create trajectories, monitor with headphones, connect to an Ambisonic system, and render your project. No prior experience with Ambisonics is needed. This is a beginner-friendly guide, so I'll include links at the end for those interested in the theory. By the end of this video, you'll be able to create your own Ambisonic composition or performance. So let's get started. Okay, so when you open Reaper, you might see something like this. And the first thing you want to do is to insert a new track. And then we want to view the master track. And then we want to increase the track channels both in the master track and in the audio track. So 64 here and 64 here. And this means 7th order Ambisonics. And for monitoring, we will first use the energy visualizer so we can see what's happening in the 3D sound field. And then we will monitor with binaural decoder. Like this. And now we are ready to start encoding. Okay, let's start with the mono file. So you can just drag your mono file from the folder you want. And for the mono file, you can use room encoder. So let's add room encoder to the track. This works as you can use this as a simple panner with reflections or not. The nice thing is that you get a little bit of sensation of distance also with the room encoder. When you want to record your movements and automations, you should go here and click trim. And from here you just select write. And then when you press space or when you press play in the track and when you move it with your cursor, you can see that it starts to automatically write the automation. Like this. When you stop it, then you should go back to the write option here or the automation option and turn it to read. Because otherwise when you play it again, then it will overwrite what you have just recorded. And then to hide clutter, I usually press here so it looks nicer. And then when you go and check it, you can see that when you play, the automations are recorded. And if you want to make changes to the automations that you have written, you can go back to and click the read button from here. And if you just want to make small changes somewhere in the middle of your automation data, you can use the automation mode touch. And this means that when you have the touch on, then it only changes when you actually touch the parameters of a plugin, for example. And when you let go of the controls, it will snap back to the previous value the automation line had. So you can experiment. I always forget which one was the touch and which one of the latch, but you can experiment with these yourself as well. But let's have it on read for now and hide these. And let's go to a stereo file next. So we need a new track. And again, as always, let's change this to 64 so that there's 64 track channels for Ambisonic 7th order processing. And then we can just drag the stereo file here. Let's make it a little bit more softer. And for stereo track, we can use IEM stereo encoder. It looks like this. And here you can a little bit adjust the width of the stereo signal. You can roll it, you can lift it or elevate it, and then also make this kind of roll. And the automation in the works exactly the same as in the room encoder. You just go to the track, this trim option in the track, and write. And as you can see that when you start to make these changes, then it'll start to write them automatically. And then you can always remember to put it read so it doesn't overwrite it. And then you can hide it. It just gives you a more clean view to work with if you hide these automation lanes, because it gets messy very quickly when you have several tracks with these several parameters open. But that's a stereo track now with stereo encoder. Okay, next up, let's say that we have a 5.1 file and we want to use that in our session. Something, for example, we have worked with some other DAW and we have used some kind of other multi-channel tool, and now we have a 5.1 render and we want to play around with that. We get it to Ambisonics in our sound field by using a certain tool like this. Let's start by inserting a new track again, and again this 64 for 7th order Ambisonics. And let's take the 5.1 file and just drag this again, like the other files as well, to the track itself. And we can choose multi-encoder, and for 5.1, this means 6 channels. It means that this one is here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 and 6, because we're gonna leave the 4 one to the front because it doesn't really have any information. This is a very powerful tool. This doesn't have to be 5.1. This can represent anything. This can be like an experimental microphone setting, for example, in your room, or you can lift this any way you can. But also these directions, when you have a ring of information like this, it gets very interesting when you start rolling and elevating the ring. I'll give you a little bit of a taste. You can do it like this, and then you can start to elevate it and make different kinds of movements like this, or then you can roll the whole ring like this. So there's a lot of very much fun and creative options that you can do with multi-encoder. And actually now you probably realized also that when it can represent anything, you can also send, actually you don't have to use room encoder or stereo encoder, but you can send these tracks to one of these as well by routing. But we can show you that in another episode. Okay, let's keep going. Next example I want to show you is that if you have recorded something with an Ambisonic microphone. For example, I borrowed a Sennheiser Ambio and went out recording and took the wave track from the memory card of the recorder, and now I have an A format recording. So in first order, for example, in Ambio microphone, it's 4 channels. Let's see what happens when we just drag this one here. Beautiful, we get 4 tracks here. As you can see, Reaper automatically created a new track, and this is usually where you forget that you have to go here and put 64 as 7th order Ambisonics in your track here. So now it works. This is now so-called A format. And we have to make this A format to B format in order for it to work in the Ambisonic 3D sound field. So let's go, and every microphone usually comes with their own A to B format converter. And for Sennheiser Ambio, it looks like this. And let's listen to a little bit of like this. And like this with others. And there you have it. So it's not very, very difficult. You drag the A format recording, and then you remember to have the 64 or more track channels, and then just add to the track itself this A to B format converter, and you're good to go. Now you already have, or we have here, 4 different types of formats in our session, and we have used the encoders to position these in the sound field. And you could make an entire composition with just, for example, mono or stereo or these other multi-channel formats or ambisonic field recordings. So you can get far with, it's more about your creative ideas than the technology itself. But here we have it, and let's see what happens in the master channel. Okay, let's move to the master channel now that we have done some encoding. So all the tools that we have been using so far here are so-called encoders. And these encoders, they convert the audio signal into B format ambisonics. And from these encoders, the B format goes to a decoder. And this decoder then sends the signal to headphones or different kind of speaker layouts. So the signal chain overview is first the audio signal, then this goes to encoder, and the encoder creates a B format. It's usually 64 if you're working in 7th order, and that goes to decoder, and from decoder it goes to headphones or speakers. And the order always matters. If the chain is not correct, it won't, just simply it doesn't work. And for example, if you want to add a mono delay or some kind of stereo effect to your chain or for your audio signal, you have to do it before encoder for it to work the way you want it, because it will only do it for the 1 track in the mono or 2 tracks in the stereo. So this is good to remember for it to work properly. Okay, so now we're ready to start working with the speakers. Let's say that we have our piece done with our headphones now, or we're in the process and we want to use the system to listen to what we've got. What you can do is that when you connect your computer to the system, let's say that you're working with Focusrite or Fireface or whatever like this, you go to the Reaper settings and you go to the audio device. And from here, if you would be working with the Fireface, then you would click here and then apply and OK. Let's say that I'm working with Black Hole device now. I apply and click OK. And I'm working with the 17 speaker system now with 1 subwoofer. So I have to go to the master channel's routing session or the routing setting here. And this needs to be multi-channel source and 18 and 1 to 18. Like this. It's usually when you haven't touched it, it's on a stereo 1, 2. But you can go and click here, select multi-channel source, If you're working with 18 speakers, then 1 to 18 from here. And now it should work. And then we unclick the binaural decoder. And now the B format, 64 channels, comes through to the decoder. And for the decoding itself, we will use simple decoder. And just for safety, we will also use limiter. We use the Reaper's own limiter as multi-mono. So it's like a brick wall limiter that will keep your speakers safe. But the simple decoder, let's say that we are now, when we want to do something, for example, in a bigger system, in a concert venue or this kind of residency system, there's usually somebody, some technician has usually beforehand made this kind of so-called JSON file that has the configuration of the speakers. And we can load that kind of file straight in to this simple decoder. That's the easiest way that we can do it. So we click the load configuration, and then Dirty Deal Audio has provided me with Lydie speakers, 17 speakers, this kind of .json file. And this has all sorts of scary looking information here, but you don't have to worry about that. You can just click here and open, and bang, it shows you like this. And for the subwoofer, I know that it's channel, I have one, and it's the number 18, channel number 18 subwoofer. And from here, I can control the subwoofer volume and the crossover frequency like this, and the overall gain from here. So basically, I'm ready to go with this setting like this. Okay. So let's say that we have our piece ready now, that we have been working a little bit with headphones, and then we have been in the residency system, or we have been on a concert venue, and we have had the chance to listen to our work, and we're happy with it now. And then we're thinking that, okay, we have this session, it has all sorts of CPU heavy processing going on, and we don't have to always have this kind of Reaper session to open and listen to it again, or share the actual piece. We're not going to send the whole Reaper project. If we want to send it to wherever you want to share your music in, then we can have more condensed format to actually save or render the composition. And we can do this in the actual B format. So let's say that if you have been working with 7th order Ambisonics, for example, and you want to save the precision of that 7th order Ambisonics, the following things we should do in that case. First, we click all the decoders off. So we don't have binaural decoder or any decoder on. We just have the brick wall limiter here as the last step. And we want to make sure that this is not doing very actively anything. It was just to keep your speaker safe. But when we want to render this, we will render it in B format and go to, okay, well, first we can select the whole piece by just dragging or clicking this time selection from here. And then we go File and Render. And in the render options, we can choose Master Mix, Time Selection, and then still make sure that no decoders are on. And then we can choose to have it on the desktop. The file name is The Best Piece Ever, of course, and sample rate 48. And this is the magical part. You can, in the Reaper, in the render option, you can just go here and take this off, and you can write 64 here. That would be the 7th order Ambisonics. That's the like full resolution of that 7th order Ambisonics. Usually you can also, it's enough for most concerts and for most competitions or whatever calls that are calls for ambisonic pieces. Usually 36 is okay as well. That's the 5th order. But if you want to have the maximum kind of working resolution, then that would be 64. And then you can just click that, make sure these are okay, make sure it goes to the place that you want the file to go, and then just click render. This is going to take a while, and the files are big because it's 64 channels in one WAV file. So when you have a longer piece, the files are going to get a little bit more large. But this is how you render. Just select, go file, render, time selection, or you can also choose entire project. Choose the amount of channels and the sample rate and the location, and then just render and click here, and you're good to go. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a fun time exploring Ambisonics.